What are we cooking today? Or better yet, what's for lunch? Today, it's a different type of show. I have the pleasure of being almost 6 feet away from Antonella, 5.5, because we're opening the arms, and yes, we're almost there. And Antonella's here with me. I just said my guest name, but before I talk to her, this is going to be a little different. I'm not going to tell you guys anything about planning or an ingredient or a restaurant or something that opened. It's just going to be more of a talk show. Antonella is someone I like very much. I really have that feeling that I identify with Antonella. First, because we talked with the hands. Second, because I'm a third generation Italian. She's Italian, pure Italian. And I think we have something in common that we really go for the things that we want, right? I think we do. I will get there one day when I do 100% cooking and less percent of the work. But Antonella is also on the same boat with the creative stuff. So with not further much ado, this is Antonella. And Antonella is here before she tells us where she came from and the fun stuff she does. Antonella, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And to our dear listeners, tell us more about you.
Okay. So, I was actually born here in Queens, in the United States, in Astoria, which is very, as you're familiar with, but a lot of immigrants from a lot of different parts of the world. My parents were expats, and they hadn't been in the United States that long. And we went back to Italy as a family. So when I was a young child, we moved back to Italy in Salerno, which is in the region of Campania, as you know. And we lived there for several years, and then we returned to the United States. So I've always lived between these two countries, back and forth, and then a lot of vacationing. And because I have so much family there, we go back, and when we go back, we kind of live there locally in our own home and do a lot of things like that. So I grew up in between.
But Antonella, you never lost yourself. You never lost your essence. You are Italian-American. You're not 100% American in the sense that you know your roots, you know where you came from. I mean, even though it's Queens, but then lived in Italy for too long. And your parents are very much Italian to this day.
Yes.
I think something similar happened to us because my father's side of the family, I'm the third generation in Brazil, but they had the culture of at least meeting once a week, if not more, because there were 9 siblings, but making pasta and singing, keeping up the culture, right? And you kept the culture.
Yes, we kept it very much. Most Italian, first generation Italian families do. You know, my husband's family, his parents are from Italy, so they kept a lot of the traditions as well. But in our home, in my home growing up and in my home now with my family, it's not just about the food traditions or the holiday traditions, but we watch Italian TV, we listen to Italian music. Usually while I'm doing my chores, I'm cooking, I have like Italian radio playing in the background, talk shows, Italian. So I really try really hard to keep that. For me, I just love it myself. Like I'm just happy when I meet someone and I can speak Italian to them. In New York City, which unfortunately right now, as we know with the pandemic, so many things have changed, hopefully just temporarily, but we go into Manhattan with my children and we'd walk into like a cafe or pizza napoletana. As soon as we walk in, ciao, buongiorno, they start speaking Italian to me, and my son says, but how did they know? How did they know that you're Italian? And you can just tell. I don't know. We have a feeling. Like you said, right? So there's like that camaraderie, that chemistry that you and I have for different reasons. But we just clicked right away when we met because...
True. Yes, so we met through dance. I met Antonella at Nadia's dance center. Not me. There's this wonderful lady called Nadia Avigliano. So she owns the dance studio, and Stella and Giada did their first dance classes together. And Stella was 2.5.
Yeah, Stella was 2.5. Giada was 3.5.
And it was so cute when they were young. I still watch the videos. So Antonella and I automatically met, and then we clicked, and you're like, oh, you're Italian. Oh, I'm half Italian because I have... So it's harder to meet Brazilians than it's easier to meet Italians in New York for some reason of their immigration, all of that fun stuff. But it was fun. And Antonella, I would never forget when we came to Giada's birthday party and you had the amazing cookies, right? And I immediately said, Antonella, this is what my nonna used to make the cookies, just that shape. It smells like my grandma's cookies. It tastes like my grandma's cookies. It looked like my grandma's cookies. And I'm like, this is what we do at home. And I'm I'm thinking, God, I found somebody who, who has something in common. Because even Brazilians, when we meet Brazilians, it's very rare that we're from the South, that we're from the same place. So it's not the same thing, right? But I'm very happy and to see that I'm lucky that we share very similar social views, political views, educational views, and it was easier for us to talk. And
yes.
And our kids really, they still see each other, even though that we moved and we don't see it. Stella doesn't dance anymore, and Jada still dances. But every time we get together, they are outside and they're playing.
They're having a great time.
Yeah.
They're having a great time. Stella, I know, and it brings me so much pleasure to make biscotti cookies for you, because Stella, and all of you, but your daughter Stella loves them. That's what. And I have to be honest with you that I've become like a baker now in my old. I never thought I would be. I don't think I'm that great at baking, but I do it. I enjoy
it. It is great, trust me.
But I enjoy it so much when I come to you or make it for you, or you're coming to my house, because you appreciate it so much. So it's so much easier to cook
when someone likes it,
or bake when someone appreciates it.
And if you think about what we were talking about before, is the differences, right? That we see so much. And Stella has been through this sort of social anxiety because things are different now in the pandemic. They're far from their friends. I'm glad that it's summer and we can see each other outside and all the fun stuff. But one of the things is, if you have the cultural affiliation, it's easier. She's the one who planned the trip to Italy last year, right? If you have something in common, it makes you feel more secure.
Yes.
And I think that's what we were talking about, the differences before, is during the pandemic, you and I have been cooking. We never stopped cooking. We don't know what it is not to stop cooking.
Every day.
I can count on my hands how many days I have eaten, order from outside, and I think same with you.
Yep, same thing with us.
Okay, but tell us, in Europe, when you grew up, so you had lunch at home.
Yeah, so when I was going to school, we went to school early in the morning, and then by 1:30 school ended. We went to school 6 days a week. So the day was shorter because we went to school on Saturdays as well. We would come home from school, it was about 1:15, 1:30, so... And my mother didn't work at the time. When we came back to the United States, she went to work, so she became a working mother then. But in Italy, she didn't work, so then we'd eat all of the whole family together at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when we would have our main big meal.
Lunch. You had real food, not fast food. Sandwich.
Not a sandwich. No, not uno spuntino, like they would say in Italian. A real meal. Vegetables, pasta, meat, salad. First course, second course, sometimes, or at least caffè, coffee at the end. So my job, people think this is funny, but culturally, like coffee in other countries, younger children drink it. It's a little bit different. So my job when I was in 4th grade, so you're 9 years old in 4th grade, was to make at the end of the meal the Italian coffee on the stove in the bialetti every day. Antonella fa caffè. I made coffee every day. And then when we came back from Italy, we had to switch to the American schedule, right? So we would.
The 9.
Yeah, we'd bring lunch to work. I'd bring lunch to work with me to school and work, and then we'd eat at night. But I remember talking to some of my coworkers who were more American, and I'd tell them, what kind of dinner do you have? I said, well, we have dinner, then we have salad, we have fruit, and we have coffee. And they said, every night you have fruit and you have coffee? So yeah, we have. I make the coffee. It was my job to make the coffee. Since then, like my parents have gotten older and they don't have caffeine at night because then they can't sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that'll happen to us soon.
Yeah, but I still drink coffee even if I go to a restaurant, and then at the end of the night, if the meal asks for coffee, I'll have coffee and I'll go to sleep. But I think it's something you grew up making coffee after lunch. I grew up, as I said, I bet my mom put coffee in the baby bottle or something. But we drink, and in the South we drink mate. I don't know if you've ever seen me drinking it. Okay, so even to this day, and mate has more caffeine than coffee. So when I'm in the morning working, I'm gonna have coffee with milk in the bialetti, so it's an espresso, and I have mate all day long. So I'm double caffeinated and still go back to sleep.
Same.
So I think maybe our bodies are used to caffeine more than in other places.
I think definitely we're more used to the caffeine, because even if I'm out and it's nighttime, I have dinner and everybody looks at me, you're gonna go sleep? I'm like, don't worry, I'll probably sleep. We're also busy working. working, like we're busy all
And you
day
get
working.
tired.
You get tired, physically tired. You're exercising, and then you're cooking, and you're taking care of everybody, and you're
You
working.
go to sleep. Yeah.
You're going to be tired enough. You're going to go to sleep.
Yeah, and everyone, you're probably listening to everyone outside giggling and having fun. Okay, so it's not Antonella and I are in the downstairs trying to talk, and they're outside still chatting. So
yes,
that's why you hear the background noise. But Antonella, so you're saying now it's a little different in Italy. When we went to Italy last year, I saw a lot of people, and I thought, okay, first in Rome, I get it, right? Rome is really, it's the capital, you see, and we stayed near Via Veneto, so, but not the fashion, closer to the U.S. Embassy. So
in Rome, yes.
In Rome. So, okay, I get it. You see all of those, and it was not only the U.S. Embassy, it was, I think, Ecuador, France, a few others around. So I'm guessing, okay, they have very limited amount of time to eat, and then they go back to the offices. So that's why they have panini at all times, right, for lunch. I didn't see that many people sitting down in a restaurant to eat.
Yes, correct. Like you don't see it at lunchtime during the day even. When we go to Italy, we go, for example, to like a beach club in Lido, right? They call it there. So we'd stay at the beach all day, and maybe it was 2 p.m. And if you try to go to the restaurant that's attached to the beach club, they don't serve food. They only serve dinner. So restaurants really don't. And again, it changes from place to place. But in the south of Italy, restaurants are really an evening thing. People during the day, people eat at home when they can. But more and more jobs really, they're working until 5. Even in my family, I have family members who work for the government or in different professional offices and things like that, businesses, and they work all day. They work kind of, I would call an American work day. Yeah. And then they come home and then they eat. The thing is, in the south of Italy, they keep very, very late hours. Le ore piccole, we say in Italian, right? So they... when you want, and especially in the summer, when you're getting together with friends, and this is even with children, you don't get together until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and then late, and then you're having pizza or whatever it might be.
With the Brazilians, so that's something that I'm so happy that we moved and we don't have the same habit. But we also eat dinner very late. And it's really funny because we're really bad on time. I am not bad on time, but in Brazil, you tell them, okay, come over for dinner at 7 o'clock because nobody's going to show up in your house before 9, and you're not going to eat before 9. To me, 9 o'clock, I have to have my digestion because I go to bed at 9:30, right?
So first of all, I have to say that Nadia invited me today at 2 when it was 3 o'clock when we got here because you knew we were going to be late, right? So I'm guilty too.
No, it's okay. Antonella, it's fine.
But yes,
it's not dinner on a Monday to Friday. But look, this is the weekend.
True.
It's fine. It's a pandemic. We're not going anywhere. I didn't have any commitments before or after. It's okay. But what I think in Brazil they do this 9 o'clock at night for them to have dinner, and then the next morning they have to go back to work. And in Brazil, you work from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with usually a 2-hour lunch. So I grew up, and school is from 7:30 a.m. until 12 p.m. or from I think 1:30 to 5 or 2 to 6. Something. I always studied in the morning, so I never know the time for the afternoon. But kids only go to school either in the morning or in the afternoon. So we always have lunch at home, or somewhere, or like your parents pick you up and then you have lunch at an easy place, not like a formal restaurant. But when I came here and when I started working at the Journal, and I saw my friend having a sandwich for lunch, and I said, okay, fine, today I'm gonna have a sandwich. And then they had a sandwich tomorrow, and then they had a sandwich the next day. And I'm thinking, I cannot, because I was used to having a nice lunch with a salad too, and whatever, right? Salad and then protein, rice, beans, or pasta. If we don't make polenta once a week, we're not Italians enough. We don't make pasta. Oh God, I can eat pasta with bolognese sauce at least twice a week, and it's fine. But I would have lunch, and then dinner was something smaller, right? Even using something even like not breakfast, but we would have toast. We would have coffee. Here we go for the coffee again. Coffee with milk or cappuccino, sort of.
For like kind of like your dinner.
Yeah, and your grilled cheese and a fruit or yogurt.
Exactly. So at night, like our meal would be maybe some cheese with some bread or vegetables that we can then. Exactly. But something like that, right? What you would normally have here more for lunch, some tuna, tuna with tomato salad, things like that. A much lighter dinner, absolutely. And they still do, I think, so on a regular basis. I think they still do that, but definitely, at least the times of year that we're traveling to Italy, which because I have children is in the summer when they don't have school. It's completely different. But the older people, so my grandmother's still alive. She's 90 years old in Italy.
God bless her.
So we'd go to the beach all day and then come home, and my mother would have something ready for us. But the days that we didn't do that, we're eating at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But it's still, even now, like one of the things that just when I'm there, I'm like, yes, this is like my reminds me of my childhood. Is that when it's that time of day that everybody's eating, people say it's like the siesta, everybody sleeps. It's not so much that though. It's just that that's a time to kind of relax. So like you eat and then you hear again the wind. We always have the windows open, and Italy, as you know, is very densely populated. Yeah. So I live in a over there. Our house is in a building, in an apartment. So and they're very close together. Yeah, you hear it's quiet, but yet you hear people like washing their dishes or like those noises of like that always kind of reminds me. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm home now. Yeah.
So what I was going to ask next is, you just said you went back home and then you have that feeling, right? You're home, you're relaxed. Do you feel that when you go to Italy, after a while you want to come back home?
I personally don't as much, I think, as everybody else. But after a while, look, when I go to Italy, I feel I'm more relaxed. I feel better. My skin is clearer. Like I don't know. I know you talk a lot, and another day we'll talk more about food and how it's more natural and all that. Yeah. I think that all of that makes you kind of just like healthier. I don't know, the air, whatever it is. Plus you're on vacation too. But after a while, when you get used to the lifestyle here in America, especially in the United States and New York, after a while of being there, like I don't know if I right now would live in Italy full time. I could totally see myself living there eventually, but right now I don't get homesick that easy. I would have to be there for a few months before I would get homesick of the United States though. But I'm unusual in that way. I'm unusual in that way. It's just it's
to me I think it's different. You have if you think about it, you have great memories in Italy. You have a great time when you're in Italy. And also if you go to your home, it's not that you're in your hometown, but you're also leaving that, and then you have your kids to now experience the same.
Right, and then I see everything through their eyes again. They love experiencing it. The thing is, probably in Brazil it's the same. You take the bus, people start talking to you. Right, especially then with us, like they hear us speak English, and then they hear us speak Italian, so they're asking about us, and then they start asking questions about the United States, and then people there, and then they, if you need help, you ask a question, and everybody wants to help you. And so you just get into all these conversations, which I do here too in New York, and I think and this unfortunately is something that the COVID pandemic has kind of brought to a halt, is that like when you go out and you just interact with other people, which in New York and in the boroughs, in Queens, in Brooklyn, you go into a store, you start chatting with people, right? So
imagine you go to Sorrento, you go to any bakery, you talk to everyone there. Every time I go to Giampiero, the guy talks.
Yes, right, Rosario, right. So for everybody, these are all different stores in Queens that we shop at to get our international foods.
And we love them. And please, Giampiero never ever close, okay? And same with Sorrento. They have that salami, the olives, and one is orange and fennel, I think, and the other one is olives and red wine. I don't know. So good.
Yep. The coffee. Lately in my neighborhood, I think there's probably problems with importing and exporting, like right now, because of everything's been slowed down with COVID. So I kept on to buy the espresso to make in the Bialetti was never, there's only one kind. Like usually have like Lavazza, Gimbo, Illy. And I couldn't find in my neighborhood as much, even though it's a very, there's a lot of Italians. Yeah. So I went to Brooklyn the other day and it was great. Huge selection, 4 packs of coffee for $9.99, a Lavazza, Glamour Goose, right? So these are the things that make me happy.
Oh, make me happy too, trust me.
I called my mom and I said, Mom, the coffee, you want me to buy this for you? She said, yeah, pick it up for me too. That's a good price, but those kinds, right, that type of thing. So that's, I think, what we're missing right now here is that sense of just go to the store, you're not relaxed when you're doing anything.
No,
and it's the same everywhere, obviously in Italy too. I know a lot of expats that just are suffering this summer because they couldn't go back. Yeah. Not just Italian, but people from all over the world, in Europe especially. But for me, like I said, so I think that's why I don't get home. I get homesick. I'm in Italy, and sometimes my husband doesn't come with us, or he doesn't come for the whole time. So of course we miss him. We want to come back.
Yeah, well, it's different.
That's different. But
you miss him, not
the life.
So I think it's a little different is in Brazil. I do feel homesick faster, not because I'm not experiencing the good stuff stuff, and look, we go to the ranch, we go to the beach, we do a lot of things. But in Brazil, things are not so organized, and so the simple thing sometimes becomes a headache.
Yes.
So, for example, Stella, I had to do her, not a driver's license, but her ID, right? So I had to make sure I had all the documents ready. And still, to every trip that we took to different places and, different bureaucratic governmental spots, it was this whole telenovela, right? Things never end. The good part of it is every time we had to go to one of those places, on the way, we would stop in one of those pasticerias, right? So in Brazil, we have a lot of the coffee places, and they sell the best pastries because it's a mix of everything. So you have your savory, and then you have your sweet, right? So if it's early morning and you want to have some sort of breakfast, they will sell that. So that is very nice, and it's usually super cheap in Brazil. And then the quality, so then back to the food, is the quality of the ingredients is completely
so much different. No,
and
I
it's
know.
so much better. To me, in the US, everything looks beautiful. Look at the strawberries, and we agree that it's the only fruit that really tastes good, right, and different. But the Meloni today was good. The cantaloupe tasted
was very good today,
was
yes.
sweet. But usually, everything tastes like styrofoam.
Yes, right. I know that's a whole different discussion of the difference in the taste of everything. It's very similar. If I had to live in Italy right now full time, I probably would get tired of it very fast, because you just here we have, even in our homes, we just have the heat on, and it's cold, we put the heat on. It's warm, we put the air conditioning. Not that we have all of that there too, it's just not the same.
No, well,
so
the internet works fast. Think about it.
Yes.
The internet is faster. The heater heats up faster.
Yes, all of that. We're just very comfortable here. And not that they're not comfortable, and it is a different lifestyle. Sometimes it's harder, and the bureaucracy, trying to get anything done is very, very difficult. And the public transportation, so like I said, like we stay in the city for a lot of the time that we're there, but it's a small city, but it's a city, and there's plenty of buses, but just trying to get from point A to point B with the bus, you have to the
bus is not on schedule.
And then when it comes, it's packed, and so those types of things, getting around, even though we don't really have a car there because we live near the kind of the downtown area, so we walk, and then if we want to go places, we take public transportation, but it's so much harder than in New York. That's definitely, there's no comparison.
But then if you compare what I was just saying about the small pasticerias, and then you go anywhere, right? What I think it's the beauty of Italy, at least, and Brazil too in that sense, is almost any hole in the wall makes great food.
Yes. There's a place in my hometown that makes the pizza al taglio, square pizza, right? There's no tables. It's a hole in the wall. And that's what my kids call it, the pizza in the hole. But can we go there? But we have to go there
because it tastes so
all the
good.
time, right? The pizza and the croquette, it's a rosticceria, so they make pizza, and there's a couple little tables to stand and eat, but you have it quick and you keep on going. But actually, the food is usually better in the holes in the wall, away from the tourists. So the difference from even between Positano on the coast, which is near us. So we go to the Amalfi Coast because it's close to the city where we live. And even in Positano, you'll find restaurants that aren't as good because I guess they just cater to tourists and the touristy. Yeah. But if you go a little bit outside, and the food is amazing, and for even though the euro right now is strong against the dollar, however, the cost of living is cheaper there, so the goods are cheaper. So it's it costs so much less to go have dinner, 4 people.
Well, remember, so I was saying so funny because I said, I stay in Furore, and it's yes, Furore, beautiful Furore, did you go to Fiordo? And I said, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't go. But one day when we were coming back from Positano, we stopped, so we had them on because we had a huge furgonetta that we rented. We would eat whatever the furgonetta had a place to park. We had a place to park the furgonetta, right? So we saw this pizzeria, whatever it was. We saw the parking spot. First thing we did was to park, and then we went to the place to eat, which was right next door. And it was June 24th. It's La Festa di San... It's a feast of a saint. It's June 24th. In that area. It will come to me in Furore. They had...
in Furore, so whatever patron saint of their town.
They had the Chiaroscuro sort of procession that I didn't know it existed until Father Joe from Holy Trinity explained, thank you, Father Joe, that they had, because we saw the saint coming into the church, and to me that was the end of the procession. No, after a while they came out of the church and then they went back on again. But back to what I was going to say is we parked the car and we stopped at this nice, quaint, beautiful view of the pizza place. I call it a pizzeria, right? Because It was on one side of the street. You had not the hole in the hall. It was like a restaurant, but that's what they made the food. Across the street, because it was a beautiful Belvedere.
Yes.
They had the tables, right? So we sat at the Belvedere, and the first thing with the table, we saw the other people's plates, and we're like, big portions. And then Felipe was like, I'm not hungry. I'm gonna order a pizza. His pizza pie is huge, like the size of regular pizza in the US, and it's €8.
Yes, and that's even expensive because you could get it for $5. And in Napoli, and look, when you go to Napoli, because there's so many people and so many pizzerias, they even think €5 for
a whole pie.
A whole pie is expensive. I mean, and in Manhattan, that same pizza, which isn't the same because
of course.
I mean, it's close. Like, look, New York City.
Perfected, no?
Yes, absolutely. That the food scene, the Italian food scene, has gotten much more authentic in New York and in Miami, much more authentic than it was 20, 30 years ago. But in New York City, you pay $20 to $25 for margherita pizza. $25, and you pay €8.
Yeah. Or $5 in Napoli.
Or $5 in Napoli, right. It's just, so when you go, you work hard all year, and then you go there and you have your vacation. It's just wonderful,
It's amazing. Antonella, I know we want to talk and we want to talk more. But before we go, tell us more about your creative mind. You have your blog.
Yes. So as you know, I worked in marketing research for many, many years. And then, personal reasons, trying to take care of my family and all of that, I actually changed careers. And when I changed careers, I worked in public education. And I couldn't believe that it was so different. The bureaucracy was so different, and the efficiency, and things would happen, and I would say, I have to write about this. Like, I'm going to write I used to be at work and be dumbfounded by what was happening sometimes and say, I'm going to write about this someday. And then I ended up leaving that job because it was like a lot of work for a lot of hours for really not much, the pay really wasn't great. And at the time, it just wasn't working out for me. So I left that job, and then I was thinking I wanted to write about this difficulty of having a job and being a mom and doing all these other, doing things for, that you want, just all of it, right?
And soccer,
just all of it. So I started, I started writing about it, and I just like to, as you can tell, as we've been speaking here, I like to tell stories. So it evolved also, it's not really just a blog about careers and motherhood, but I try to tell stories through it too.
People like to relate.
Right, some people can relate, and they just so, my blog is called Confused Executive Mom, and honestly, because all the names I wanted were taken, but actually when people ask me that, what's your blog, and I tell them, oh my goodness, that's me, I'm confused, you know how many people have told me that, that's perfect, because as women, at least, going through our life, and you kind of, we have to reinvent ourselves, and it's a lot, right, so
all the time,
people like the confused part of it, and so I write a blog, and I create content for my blog, and once in a while for some other publications.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So that's a work in progress, like everything else.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't think we'll ever stop working, Antonella.
No. Absolutely not.
So we'll come back to more food another day. I want to thank you for your time.
Great. It was a pleasure being here.
And thank you everyone for listening. Oh, before we go, Antonella and I decided we're going to give you our past weekly menu. And we have to tell you it's been really hard because it's summer. It gets to a point that we're just eating leftovers from one day to another because we're tired. And this fun pandemic stuff. Look, we are still cooking every day, okay? It doesn't mean that we're not cooking, right? We're not going to the supermarket to buy ready to... No, we're still cooking, but we are reinventing. Trust me, my chicken one day became fried rice the other day.
Okay, so one day, because I've been growing a lot of basil. The basil this year is very fragrant and growing a lot, so I made pasta with pesto. Another day I made what we call in my house Mexican rice, but with all due respect to all the Mexicans, it's a recipe of rice that I found online and I modified, and it has those Mexican flavors. I made one day the maiale, which is pork, the costolette, so the ribs in red sauce to eat with pasta. And then I have, my daughter, as you know, is a vegetarian, so we eat a lot of different fresh cheeses. So tomato salad with burrata was another dinner that we had one night with some Italian bread.
Nice, very Italian. We had caprese because basil is growing nonstop, and I used the last tomatoes that I had, I grew. But now I have a ton of cucumbers, and they're huge. I don't know, every time it rains, the cucumbers just grow insane. So Stella made burger one day. It wasn't me, it was my daughter, okay? So she made it everything from scratch. We grind the beef, we get the seasonings, we get everything from the garden if we can, but she made made it. The other day we made chicken, and we made pasta with white sauce and chicken. We had pizza. Pizza we make from scratch at least twice a week. And it's easy because you make the pizza the one day and then you make enough for 2 days, and then you make the sauce one day, enough for 2 days.
Exactly.
All you have to do is change the toppings. We had barbecue today.
A wonderful barbecue.
Yes.
That Nadia and her husband, Nadja. And I learned that I say it the Italian way, but the correct Portuguese way is Nadja, or Brazilian. And her husband made a wonderful, wonderful barbecue for us today. So thank you very much.
And we had the amazing lemon cookies. We had biscotti. We had another, how do you call it?
The walnut tarts.
Walnut tarts.
Chocolate chip biscotti. And lemon cookies.
And the original lemon cookies, guys. If you ever... One day, Antonella's going to give you the recipe. The recipe is not so hard. The recipe is not hard at all.
It's not hard at all. No.
But these are the best lemon cookies ever. These are the best cookies ever. Because, no, it is for real.
You're too kind, but thank you.
No, but it's true. Look, all the cookies that I know, they taste like undercooked.
Right.
These cookies are never undercooked. And the lemon glaze is the easiest thing to make.
Yes.
It's powdered sugar and lemon juice.
Yep.
I wish I knew this before. But, well, thank you very much. Thanks so much, Antonella. Come back again. We'll talk about our food.
Absolutely.
And we'll get
pleasure.
into the educational system and all the fun stuff.
Okay.